When you're watching 21 Bridges, this is one of those movies set in New York City that I really feel, well, I really enjoy because it makes the city so much more, how can I explain it? It makes the city such a large world, but such a small space. Does that make sense? It feels like the landscape, the background of New York City is just like this huge hide and go seek kind of a feel. I also just really like the character of that Chadwick Boseman plays. Chadwick Boseman is fantastic in this movie. I really like him. J.K. Simmons is in the movie. Sienna Miller. I'm trying to remember what the main robber guy is. But anyways, when I first watched this movie, I was kind of like, I knew of Chadwick Boseman because I watched him in the Marvel movies, but I didn't know his like other work. Like obviously he did the Jackie Robinson biopic, which was great, but I wasn't really familiar with like his range. Does that make sense? Like, you know how sometimes you see an actor and you're like, oh yeah, they're great in one thing, but then in another you're kind of like, I don't know if it translates. I don't know if it's 100% all the way through. So this was one of those movies where I was looking at it and I was like, okay, he's playing a detective, he's playing a cop, he has to be, so many different things. And so I was just a little bit skeptical about like, okay, what is he, what is he really going to be focusing on? What is he really going to be doing? How is he going to be different? And I figured it would be different than playing Black Panther because Black Panther is more of a, it's more African rooted. It's not, he has the accent. He puts a lot into that role. And that's another aspect of how great of an actor he is. So when I was watching this movie, what I really liked about it was I forgot that he was Black Panther. You know what I mean? It's like one of those weird moments where you're watching the actor, like when I watch Tom Hanks in a movie, he's like a chameleon. You know what I mean? He can change. He can play so many different characters because he can change and adapt and be so different in each role. And I guess that's what I was kind of looking for with Chadwick Boseman. I was like, if I watch him, I'm like, gonna always think, oh, he's Black Panther. Oh, he's Black Panther. And the answer is no. When I saw him in the movie, when I was watching him, and I was really like taking in the whole story, I was not thinking of Black Panther. I was like, oh, this is a whole different thing. So that was kind of my feeling about it. That was my reaction to the whole thing. So that was kind of what I was feeling about it. And just relating it to Tom Hanks, I was like, every time I watch a movie, I don't think of, Forrest Gump or whatever, you know what I mean? They're just a level to it, you know what I mean? I don't think about Castaway or any of his past roles. I just take him for the character or the role that he's playing right then and there, So that was a big thumbs up for me. I thought he did fantastic in this movie. I mean, you can kind of poke holes throughout the whole story. I mean, it is pretty, unbelievable, but it is fiction, and I think with a crime movie, you always have to have some sort of disbelief or some sort of like skepticism, you know what I mean? And I think it gets a little dicey when it's about like police officers and cops and all that stuff, and they always try to frame it or try to make it so it's like, oh, they're the bad cops are at it again, and the good cops have to stop them, and it's like only within the police force. But I think the overall issue is kind of like, it feels like, in the movie, what we see is that there are corrupt police officers in the movie, and it feels like Chadwick Boseman's character is like the one good, the good saint, and he has to kind of stop or put an end to these guys, you know what I mean? Like he's the only one that can do it, and I don't know. I think that's a good trope, but I also think that's a bad way to look at it. I don't know what the right term is. I just feel like it's one of those movies where it's like, you versus the world, you know what I mean? Or the world kind of turns on you, and now you have to have this whole different perspective on life. Or whatnot, so to speak. So, anyways, I think one of the well, let me start at the beginning. This movie starts off with learning about Chadwick Boseman's character. If I remember correctly, his father was a police officer, I think, and he got killed. I think his father was killed or murdered by some sort of criminal or whatnot, and so he's kind of always like been hesitant to shoot or kill people with his own gun. So it's kind of like a moral code is like always catch them alive type of deal. And I like that. I like that idea, that philosophy. So then we kind of see it from the robber's point of view, where it's like, hey, we're trying to rob this place with cocaine, and we're just going to get into this winery. We're going to sneak in there. We're going to grab some cocaine out of there, and then we're going to get out of here and walk away with some good cash. Easy money, essentially. They go in there, and they find out that they kind of got more than, bit off more than they could chew. It's not like the amount they were promised. It's a lot more. And now they're just kind of like, what the... You know what I mean? Now they're just kind of like, well, now we have to kind of take more, you know what I mean? More than we really can. And then they get stopped by police, or they get found by police, sorry. Like police were coming in while they were robbing the place. So now they're in a situation where they have to escape, and kind of the only way for them to get out of this mess is to shoot their way out. And unfortunately, they kill all the other police officers, and they escape. And then that's where the story really takes place. Chadwick Boseman's character takes on the case. He has to find the two criminals who got away. And that's when the 21 bridges kind of comes into play. It's like, we have to shut down all 21 bridges coming in and out of Manhattan. And that kind of shrinks up New York. You know what I mean? That shrinks it up to the one Manhattan Island, or the one location. And I thought that was a smart idea, but it's also like, you know what I mean? You can look at it and be like, they would never do that just for these two robbers. Like, it would just, try to figure out how to get in or hack into surveillance cameras. You know what I mean? Like, give or take. So anyways, there's this feeling whenever there's like a police officer who has to take control, or like a detective is like, I need to solve this case right here and now, or I need to catch the bad guys right here and right now, and he makes like quick decisions. I really like those moments in movies when they show quick thinking. You know what I mean? Like that quick, like a fast chess move. You ever watch I watch these from time to time, and it's not like I watch them all the time, but it's like I watched professional chess players play against each other, and when you watch them, you're kind of just like, sometimes they take their time. Sometimes they like to they do it really quickly, or they already know what the next move is going to be, and then they kind of like wait for the next move. You know what I mean? It's not until the next move that they're going to prepare, or they're going to get ready, or they're 2 steps ahead already, right out of the gate. And so I remember I watched this interview with Howard Stern about I think it was Jonah Hill talking about Martin Scorsese, and he was kind of talking about how quick he is at making, directorial decisions, or like how fast he was at solving problems, or problem solving, or kind of just being this intelligent person, essentially. And I never felt like those kind of moments were I got the impression that those kind of moments never translated in films because it always just was like, well, yeah, that's the script. Like, of course they're smart. Like, it's the script. They tell us they're smart. You know what I mean? To get the idea across, they show us, or they get across the idea that they're smart. And this was one of those moments when I was watching the movie and I was kind of like, this is a big deal because the robbers did kill these police officers. They're a top priority. They're dangerous. They stole something from the place, or they hurt these men. It's kind of like it's do or die. We have to handle this right here, right now. We have to take drastic measures to take care of this. We're going to shut all 21 bridges down, and we're going to do what I say we're going to do, and I'm going to take the lead in the case. And it all kind of is like, it's rapid. It's trying to solve the problem. How can we catch these guys? And it translates so well to his character because of what he's been through, what he's lived through, is that his dad has been killed in a gunshot. So he's like, I never want to take another person's life, or I guess that's not the right word. It's more so like always try to catch the bad guys. So I really liked that aspect, and I thought it worked well, and it translated very well into the film for me. It made a lot of sense, and it kind of was just like, yeah, he's passionate about what he does, and he wants to make sure that justice is given and they catch the guys. So now they get into the story, and it's just a matter of going back and forth between the Chadwick Boseman and Sienna Miller, who's like his partner throughout the movie, so to speak, is like she has his back most of the time when they're chasing leads. And then you see the bad guys trying to like sell their cocaine, clean their money, essentially trying to escape, trying to find a way to make it out alive, and now they're kind of, their whole identity is about to get blown all over TV. The cops know who they are or what they look like. They have to escape New York City, and they also have to have enough money to make a new life for themselves, So I'm watching it, and I kind of like the back and forth, but what really interests me is when the pieces of the puzzle start coming in together. You know what I mean? It's like, why were the cops coming in? At that point, why were they doing all this? And by the way, I didn't know anything about this movie before watching it the first time, so I was just kind of like trying to solve it myself. And obviously, there was a thought in my mind that maybe the robbers or the bad guys, not the bad guys, but like, you know what I mean, the bad guys, the main criminals that we're tracking throughout the whole movie, is that like they were set up by whoever gave them the job, but in actuality it's kind of like the cops were corrupted and they were holding on to the drugs. But we'll get to that. And I just like the show, or the kind of, not the way that they show how smart that the robbers are, or that the one guy is. I just like the way that they make it seem like we know, or like they know what they have to do to make it out alive, or to survive, or to do what they have to do next. And it's like, you got one night, one chance. You have to make it happen right here, right now. How do we do it? It's like we just killed cops, right? We have this cocaine. We can make money, but now we have to do it tonight, and we have to escape. How do we make it happen? And that's kind of the biggest unrealistic part, is that, like, you know what I mean? Obviously, they would be tracked. They would be found. They would go to justice. They wouldn't, I think that they would, more often than not, typically lay low in a place. You know what I mean? I don't think that they would necessarily try to Well, I think realistically they would try to run away or escape. You know what I mean? They would run away. They would drive off past the bridges and go to, I don't know, New Jersey or this other place or this place or that. You know what I mean? They would try to escape. Um, they wouldn't be stuck on Manhattan, or nobody would have the quick leads or like their identity, I guess, as quick. But maybe they would, maybe they don't. I don't know. So, anyways, essentially, what happens is they Chadwick Boseman and Sienna Miller catch up to them, and now it's just like all starting to unravel. It's all starting to like, all right, we caught you guys now. Come in quietly. Chadwick Boseman's trying to save them. Sienna Miller's character's kind of like, I don't want to say she's kind of a wild card, but you don't know what her mentality is. You know what I mean? She's probably scared. She probably is like, wants to hurt these guys for hurting other police officers, and she's kind of just like, this guy has Chadwick Boseman has this opportunity to essentially kill them or to stop them or to, not let them get away, and he gives them chance after chance after chance. So I don't really know what her overall motivations are, or like what she's thinking. They kind of give us a little bit of characterization. They kind of don't. It just doesn't feel like we know everything about her the same way we learn about Chadwick Boseman. And now, the cool thing about the movie is that, like, once like, rewatching it, you're just kind of just like looking at her and going like, oh yeah, like, of course, But anyways, I'm trying to think. I don't think she gets taken hostage, or maybe they get held at gunpoint. Maybe that's the better phrase, is that they get held at gunpoint, and then they kind of like have a shootout, and one of the guys dies. One of the criminals dies. I think it was the white guy. He goes down, and then the other guy gets away. And now it's a race to get back, to get him back. And now it's kind of like in the morning, right? And they make it onto I don't know if it's the subway or just like an above ground train. But they make it up there, and Chadwick Boseman and the criminal have a talk. Well, not a talk, but they kind of just like, something wasn't right about that job. Something wasn't right about that whole thing. And he was just kind of like telling Chadwick Boseman, like, you better watch your back, you know what I mean? You don't know what's going on. He gives him the flash drive with like kind of like the details of the cocaine, I guess, or the enterprise and whatnot. And he tells him the password to the flash drives, and that's the end of it. And then he's about to go to jail. Like, he's caught, you know what I mean? He's not dead. And then Sienna Miller's character just comes in and shoots and kills him. And she's like, my bad. I thought, you know what I mean? I thought you were being held up at gunpoint, Chadwick. I didn't know. Right? Like, she makes it seem like, hey, I didn't know. My bad. You know what I mean? My fault. So anyways, now Chadwick Boseman has the flash drive. He has the information. He knows whatever's on that flash drive or whatever's on on that thing that the criminal had in his possession. He knew that, essentially that it was going to unlock something dark. And then, obviously he finds out that the police in the precinct that he's in, or like the captain or whatnot, they're corrupt police officers smuggling cocaine. My bad. Dealing drugs to make more of a living than just on a police officer's salary. And so Chadwick has all this information, and he confronts the captain, who is J.K. Simmons, who does a great job. And they confront each other. They have a shootout. Chadwick Boseman has to kill fellow police officers. He confronts the Sienna Miller because he's like, you gotta stay alive for your daughter. You know what I mean? Come in and help me take these guys down. You're gonna be a living witness. You know what I mean? You're probably gonna go to prison for a long time, but you know what I mean? We'll figure that out. You'll serve some time. You'll come out, but you'll still be alive for your kid. And so that's kind of the whole thing, was that it wasn't they broke in and found this cocaine and then all of a sudden the cops were informed that they were breaking in. It was that that's like their stash house. That's where the police officers go to get cocaine in and out, and they can like walk freely back and forth between it. So that's why it was so messed up. It was like they didn't just go there by chance. It's like their place. So yeah, I like that plot point. I kind of like that connection. Is that mystery, that solving of it is just like, yeah, they're corrupt cops and they were dealing drugs on the side. You know what I mean? However far-fetched that may seem, I just kind of was like, yeah, I'm with it. You know what I mean? I follow it. So, anyways, I remember after watching it and after seeing like essentially what happens in like a whole night, you know what I mean? All in one night. And I really enjoy that aspect of it, because when you watch when I watch movies that do stuff like that, like you follow a character in one day, or you follow them through one night or through one moment or one thing. I liken it to the movie oh my gosh, what's the name of that movie? It's Charlie Day and Ice Cube are in it. It's like a school fight. That is a funny movie. But what I really like about it is that it takes place all in one day, you know? I like movies like that where it's just like the storyline is just so, it just makes sense, you know what I mean? It follows one day, one moment, one time, and you kind of just get the highlights of it, you know what I mean? You don't get because obviously if you got the full night, you know what I mean, you're looking at maybe possibly 5-6 hours, you know, depending on when they start. But yeah, overall, watching the movie, I think it's one of those detective police movies that I like, but it's not like the greatest thing. It's just kind of like an okay police detective movie, you know what I mean? It was pretty easy to figure out. It wasn't all that complicated to learn about or to get together. It was just more so I like the detective aspect of it all, like the learning. You know what I mean? I like movies where it's like they solve the crime or they do stuff like that. You know, a mystery is my fault. I really like mystery movies and mystery novels. I like those things. And then set it in New York City and police and all this other stuff. A detective. It checks all the boxes. It does the trope well. You know what I mean? If anything, this movie does each of the tropes well. It's the police, New York City, you know, what's it called? Crime, right? Drugs, police corruption. It does it. It checks all the boxes, but it's not like groundbreaking or like top of the line. It's just like it knows what it is. It does it well, and it's like one of those good average movies. You know what I mean? Like I'm not mad watching it, but I'm also like not like this is the most amazing movie ever. It's just kind of like it's good. It's a good movie. You know what I mean? That's the best way I can describe it. And yeah, everybody gives solid performances. I mean, it doesn't feel like crazy. You know what I mean? Sometimes you watch stuff and you're like they're going a little too hard with it, you know what I mean? Which I usually never think or never really want to say, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of where my head was at. But anyways, watching the movie, I kind of was like, I was thinking to myself, what if something like this happened in real life? And in reality, it probably, I mean, it would be a big deal, but it wouldn't be a big deal, if you know what I mean. Like, I remember when I was in New York City and the news was on, okay? And, like, I don't know, it felt like the. Let me rephrase. When I would go back to my hotel room, like late at night or whatever, you know what I mean, after being out all day, turning on the TV, I would just like watch New York news to see what they would talk about, you know what I mean? And it's like, it was kind of cool, but it was also kind of like they would, it wasn't as crazy as you would think, you know what I mean? It wasn't like crime and corruption like 24/7. They weren't broadcasting that all the time. It was just kind of like, yeah, there was some crime here, there was some stuff here, they have a video of it, they would put it up, and you know, it was kind of like small stuff. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, this woman was beaten and killed and put, you know what I mean? They didn't do any of that, like any of that crazy reporting, so to speak. Not at least while I was there. And if they did, I probably missed it because I was gone most of the day. All right. So, in conclusion, all right, what I'm trying to get at here is 21 Bridges is a good movie that follows the basic police detective trope of like figuring out deceit and lies and drugs and money, and it has like everything that you want in like a good detective movie. It has drugs, violence, deception, you know, it has detective. It's like a real sleuth, a real mystery of it all. It has a good premise where they shut down all of the bridges in Manhattan. So now the bad guys can't get out, but now they have to wait out the clock, and they have to avoid the cops, and they have to clean the money, and they have to do all of these little different things that set them back far, 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 you know what I mean? And then eventually get them caught, and both of them murdered, but then they're not the real crooks. I mean, they are, but they aren't, you know what I mean? They're just like victims in a larger conspiracy. So it's like all kind of connected. It's like they're the bad guys, but they're the criminals, but they're not the only criminals. You know what I mean? So I like this movie. It's a good movie. Would I say it's the best in the genre? Probably not. Would I say it's, you know, a movie that I would put on if I'm like, you know what, I'm in the mood for something like kind of like, you know, I'm into like a police mystery movie. You know what I mean? Yeah, I would put it on. It's good. So overall, when you're watching 21 Bridges, be ready for some sick Chadwick Boseman scenes. Be ready for some lies, for some deception, real deception from your own peoples. You know what I mean? Be ready for a mystery. You know what I mean? Be ready for some twists and turns. Be ready for some fairly good action. I mean, it's a lot more guns, but it's action. It's action in there, and I guess maybe try to think about the movie from the perspective of like the criminals, the Chadwick Boseman, and then the police officers trying to cover up their dirty deeds. You know what I mean? It's like if you look at the movie from each of their perspectives, you're like, you learn so much about their motivations and what they really want or what they're trying to gain out of the situation. You know, Chadwick Boseman wants to catch the criminals because they killed police officers and they should go to jail. And he has a moral code that says that like, catch the bad guys, do what's right, you know, because I'm a cop. I have to be the best. Then you look at it from the criminal's perspective. It's like, hey man, we're just trying to make some quick money. You know what I mean? Is it wrong what we're doing? Yes. But we're taking drugs, and then we're just giving it away. It's going to be sold either way. You know what I mean? Might as well be us making the money. So it's like, it's wrong, but it's like, all right, you know what I mean? They're desperate. They're just trying to get some cash. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Not saying it's right, not saying it's wrong. They could get caught, you know what I mean? But it happens. So then you look at it from the perspective of the cops that are trying to like cover up their, drug smuggling, their drug dealing behind the scenes, and then you're just kind of like, I will do whatever it takes to stop those two criminals from escaping the city alive, or from telling anybody about what we have going on here, about what they saw, about where it was, about who was who showed up there, like, and why they were there. You know what I mean? So yeah, it just all makes sense. So when you're watching 21 Bridges, be ready for a good cop mystery movie. Yeah, set in New York City. It's really good. And it's kind of like a movie that I wish I could like. It's one of those stories that you wish you could see on the news from time to time. It's like, whoa, corruption, scandal. It's all very juicy. You know what I mean? But obviously, it's a movie, so thank goodness, right? Good that it's just a movie. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.